It's coming up to 7 AM on Saturday, June the 8th. I'm just setting off on my second 200-kilometre DIY Audax in a month. Previous to that, I hadn't done one for over 2 years. I'll explain why later in the ride. That first 200 was favourable weather conditions, not so today. There's going to be strong winds later this afternoon against me, and it's also raining first thing. Also, in 9 days' time, I'll be setting off on my cycle tour this year, so I'll talk to you more about that later on. It's coming up. So today's ride, I'm leaving my hometown of Bath, heading out across East Mendip, where I am now, approaching the summit, generally heading southwestish, and there's a northwest wind, so it's quite beneficial even though I'm climbing. Heading down to the outskirts of Taunton, then I'll do a big turn there, head north up to the North Somerset coast, Burnham-on-Sea, skirt around Weston-super-Mare, then finally do a northeasterly direction back to Bath up near Lowesgate Airport. 200 kilometres, slightly over. That's about 127 miles the total distance today. And I said I'll explain why there's been a 2-year gap, and now I've done 2 within a month. I wasn't sure if I could still do them. I sort of instinctively thought I could, but until you do it, you don't know. That last one was so easy because it is weather assisted, and also mentally I really enjoyed it. And I've just decided to buy 3 more brevies. I'm going to do 1 200 a month for the next 3 months. So including the first one, that'll make 4 months. Then I'll reassess it, but I think what I may do is go for another randoner round the year. What randoner round the year means is RRTY for short. It means riding 1 randoner event a month, the minimum being 200 kilometres. You can go up as high as you like. And I've done that 16 times so far, and I think maybe I'd like to make it 17. I don't know yet. I did my first 200-kilometre DI Audax for 2 years back in May. This will be June. I've got 2 more, July, August. That'll be 4. That's a third of a year. It's a good time to sort of evaluate, do I really want to go into the autumn and the winter? And I think the answer would probably be yes. But obviously the winter months can be harder, not necessarily, but if you're going to have problems, it's probably going to be in the winter. I found out when I did my super randoner around the year, several years ago, that was a super randoner series of 200, 300, 400 and 600 kilometre rides every month. I believe I'm the only person to have ever done that. I don't know, I don't care to be honest, but I did it and I learned a lot doing it. And I started that in the late summer, and I found by the time I got to January, when it was really quite testing and challenging, I was so far into it, you can use some powerful psychological tools to keep going, loss aversion being one of them. And so I had a big stake in it already. I had skin in the game, a lot of it as well. So that helps you not give up. Whereas if I'd faced some of those challenges on my second or third ride of my first month, I don't know. I like to think I would have ploughed on through, but the honest answer is I don't know. So I'm kind of stacking the odds in my favour. I'm coming into the outskirts of Holkham, and I'll soon be passing St Andrew's Old Church, or rather, the lane down to it. I went to a picnic there recently and it was absolutely wonderful. I cannot say thank you enough to Marie, who organised it, and the local residents of Holkham, who made me feel so welcome. I'll maybe visit later in the summer or the autumn, and I'll explain what that was all about. There's the turning down for St Andrew's Old Church, Holkham, right by the Holkham boundary sign. Wonderful down there, and it's open every Saturday and Sunday during the summer. As we come into Holkham, look at this wonderful bit of knitting. I'll be setting off Monday week on my Thankful Villages cycle tour. More about that later. This is the crossroads coming into Holkham. Down there, called Stratton Road, you may see that second brown sign down. That's the Holkham Inn. If you wanted to go to St Andrew's Old Church and you didn't want to go on the weekend when it was officially open, you can go down to the Holkham Inn, ask for the key, and they'll give it to you, and you can let yourself in any day of the week you want, bar Monday. I think on Monday the hotel is closed, and if you want access on a Monday, you've got to ring a number. I think it's the vicarage. That's looking up at the Mendip Ridge, my old favourite, Margary's 45B, the Roman road. We're going to drop down in the valley now and then climb back up towards it, but head over towards Shepton Mallet, Dalting, before we then drop off the Mendips to Evercreech. Quite nice coming down there because it's quite a grind coming up. We've now crested the summit of East Mendip and we're coming down Maze downhill. You can see we're heading down onto flatlands, down towards Evercreech, turn right, and then we'll be on very flat ground for several miles. We'll be going through the very small village of Pill. Crossing the Mendips has been relatively easy. I'm not bigging myself up, it was wind assisted. So geographically, it's about to get easier. Meteorologically, I think it's going to get harder because of the headwind, but we'll see. But I'm really looking forward to getting on these nice, quiet, sleepy lanes, heading down towards the outskirts of Taunton. Just after we do the turn, we'll stop at Stoke Gregory, which is almost exactly halfway. There's a good sort of place to stop there. There's a village shop, a bus shelter if you need shade, some seats in the village, just a really nice place to head for. So that's probably going to be my late lunch stop. I rode my fourth 100-kilometre Audax calendar event last Saturday, the fourth of the season. It was Audax Club Bristol, called the North Somerset Wander, organised by Luke. It was a really nice event. I really enjoyed that. And I rode there and back, which made it about 100 miles. So I feel like I'm really prepared for my holiday in 9 or 10 days time, and this should be the final icing on the cake. I'll probably do one ride during the week, shortest ride, just so I'm ready for Monday week. Talking about Audax calendar events, I rode the South Gloss 100-kilometre event recently. I thought it was by Bristol CTC when I mentioned it in a previous video. That was actually Audax Club Bristol. Excellent event, another really experienced, well organised event. And it was just such a good event. But I did lose my brevet card on that, completely my own fault. I had been keeping it in my saddlebag. I knew an information control was coming up, so I got it out, put it in my back pocket, and it must have just come out. And I was enjoying the event and the company and the people so much, I didn't mind, I just carried on round. And I told each controller, you know, sorry, I haven't got my card, but you know, you can tick me off so you're not waiting for me at the end wondering where I am. When I got home from my recent 200-kilometre DIY, that was about a few days after that Audax, there was a letter waiting for me, and somebody had found my brevet card and posted it to me. Somebody called Gary, so thank you very much, Gary. That was a lovely gesture. I don't know if Gary was a member of the public or a cyclist. My own view is, if he was a cyclist, he would have probably handed it in to one of the organisers or one of the controllers. So my own feeling is Gary's probably a member of the public, although my wife seems to think he's more likely to be a cyclist. I simply don't know. But I'm very grateful for that. It's just such a lovely gesture. It meant a heck of a lot to me, that did. We're just about to cross the A37, which is actually running on the course of the old Roman Fossway at this part of the country. Up the top of that hill, where the blue car is, bends round, the actual old Fossway carries straight on up. There's a little minor road. And that's where I bivvied on the first night of my Fossway ride. I'd left Exeter that day, and I got up there about 11 p.m. So as the cars climb up that way, we're cutting straight across. So here we are at Pill Village Hall. This is on about another mile from the busy A37. You can see how nice it is. And the road stays like this, as quiet as this, for quite a few miles now. So I'm really going to sit back, just switch off a little bit. My old Garmin Edge, the one on the stem, can't stand the distance to go because it's a preset course. So it's just about to change from 100 miles to go to 99 miles to go. And I always use that as a big mental boost. There you go, it's just come down to 99 miles to go. We're just coming into a very Saturday morning busy Somerton. Somerton is in between Glastonbury and Langport. We'll be heading towards Langport shortly. But on the boundary sign it says Royal Capital of Ancient Wessex. On my last video, as I pulled into Wilton, I said that also claims to be the capital of Wessex. It's worded slightly different, but surely it's claiming to be the same thing. I don't know which is true, to be honest. I may look it up sometime and see if I can enlighten myself. Anyway, up the top of the hill, through the high street, and then we get on our first little bit of off-road rough stuff. This is the start of our rough stuff. You can see it's fairly hard, compact gravel. Just need to take a little bit of care. So I'm on narrow tyres. And it's going downhill. I could have taken this out of the route, but I'd already submitted it by the time I remembered it. So I thought, maybe next time. It's not too bad though. I won't want to do this after rain though, that's for sure. Like this. On my Caribou, my touring bike, this will be fine, easy, on narrow tyres, pumped up to about 85 psi. It's a little bit bumpy. Good fun though. I think this may be the village of Pitney on the outskirts of Somerton. So I'm back on tarmac now. And we're heading down towards Langport Hewish Episcopi, I think that's how you pronounce it. That's where the Abbey on the Moors is, Mulchney Abbey, or Muttlney Abbey, I can never remember which it is. It's pretty impressive. Talking about my tyre pressure back there, I ride 700 by 25C Duranos. I don't think they make them anymore, but I've got quite a batch at home to still use up. I found them a good compromise between grip and puncture resistance. You know, not going to be perfect either way. There's that good balance down the middle. I find them comfortable and I've come to like them. We've just come from Pitney at this junction. See, we're about to head down into Langport. That's 1.5 miles. Just drop down on some flatlands. That big ridge going along the top, I think that would be the Polden Hills or possibly the Blackdown Hills in the far distance. We're not going as far as those. We'll be turning right way before that, staying down on low ground. Another one of my tips is I never think of it as a time limit. I always think of it as a time allowance, and it's another really strong mental trick. For me, a limit is a liability, whereas an allowance is an asset. You've got much more control over an asset than a liability. You can manage an asset. A liability is working against you, an asset's working for you. And just that slight mental shift. If you're not from this area, you may sometimes see on the news the Somerset levels are flooded and some roads may be closed, and emergency services will possibly come in and use boats or even helicopters sometimes to service the local communities. And you can see that's one of the gates that is used to close this road in the winter. At times I've had to turn back here a few times, and I know other Audaxers who've had to, and then you've just got to come up with something on the fly. Here we are, approaching our lunch stop, North Ruby. Just before we go in the post office, I wanted to point this out. It says there has been a post office here, or close by, since before 1840. It is one of the oldest in the country. Nice place to pick up some lunch. I have my lunch, bought sandwiches, also stocked up with food from the post office. It's always a bit of a sun trap here, so you get a nice little bit of shade. And how's that for inspiration? Rest a while. I will, thank you very much. Round about halfway, I'm Just going to have sandwiches, fizzy drink, and ice cream afterwards. Charging my devices here. Drying out my top from this morning, packed that away, and I suppose about half an hour or so here. When I entered this event, and anybody who enters a DIY, you'll get a virtual brevet. I'll put it on the screen now. And the most important number on that brevet for me is the maximum time allowance. And for this event, it's 14 hours and 15 minutes. If I'd left home at 7 AM this morning, as I planned, my maximum time allowance would be 9:15 tonight. But because I was up early and feeling okay, I was on the road by 6:45. So that means my cut-off time, maximum time allowed, is 9 PM tonight. I'm about halfway. And you can see it's not even 1 PM yet, 12:54. That gives me 8 hours to do the second half of the ride. I've done the first half in 6 hours, so you can sort of see I got straight away a mental picture that I'm doing okay for time. You know, I can't afford to be complacent, but I'm doing okay for time. You know, there's a good chance I'm going to tire towards the end, so I'll certainly slow down. And there's this big hill coming up past Gate Airport, but you know, I just feel I'm doing okay for time. That's how I personally manage my time on events. I don't bother about the speed, the pace. I don't want to get round quick. What I do want to do is maybe finish with 45 minutes to an hour in hand, just in case there's any problems in the last few miles. You know, getting stuck at traffic lights, for instance, or having a puncture. You know, if you've got an hour in hand, that's not an issue. If you're quite tight to the deadline, it can be quite stressful. It's actually quite easy to do those calculations on the road as well, because my Garmin's will give me an estimated time to the finish of the course, because it's a set course. And I can tell, you know, if there's 6 hours to go and it's 3 PM in the afternoon, you know, I've got till 9 PM, haven't I? I'll just use, I imagine, a clock face so I can do the calculation, especially when I get tired, because the figures, the subtractions are quite difficult sometimes. I just visualise a clock face and it makes the calculations easy. You know, if it's 1 PM and I've got 9 hours, that's, you know, 7 PM plus another 3, 10 PM. So I just find visualising a clock face helps me do the sums. Okay, we're leaving this way. It says restricted access, plenty of cars, vehicles going along here. We've just come in from that way from lunch. We're now just crossing one of the two major Somerset level rivers, the Tone or the Parrett. No matter how many times I look this up, I can never remember which one this is. They're just about to join there, the Tone and the Parrett. Then they flow underneath Burrow Bridge, and that big mound up there, like a mini Glastonbury Tor, that's Burrow Mump, very evocative. Like Glastonbury Tor, it's got the ruin of an old church up there. See if I can zoom in. Always fancied wild camping up there. Probably wouldn't get away with it, but you can dream, can't you? Burrow Mump up there, just as we turn left into Riverside, appropriately named the River Parrett. It's actually quite hard now, and it will be for a few miles, so I'm going into the teeth of the headwinds. I got a little bit of protection from the hedges here, but not much. Audax is all about self-sufficiency, how you manage a timed event. I can see from my readout 66 miles done, 60 miles to go, so you can see there's fewer miles in front of me than there are behind me, and shortly I'll be down to 59. 49 is always a good one, you know, less than 50. That always gives me a mental boost, shot of dopamine. It's actually quite hard. One of the things I do is look down at the ground, and you realise you're still moving quite fast. It just feels hard work, and it is. But that's why I did that calculation earlier on. I know I've got 2 hours in hand if I carry on riding at the pace I did the first half of the ride. So there's no time pressure yet anyway. Plus the fact, I know once we get north of Burnham-on-Sea, skirt around the edge of West-Sutton-Mare, as we make our way up to Gate Airport, we'll turn and the wind will be beneficial. So this is just a hard leg that you need to learn how to endure, really. Plus if I can get down on the drop handlebars to make life a little bit easier. It's been quite hard this leg actually. I'm heading towards Chedsoy, then onto nearby Bridgewater. Got a little bit more shelter from the hedgerows. Some of this section's been quite hard, but I've been really enjoying it in a kind of strange way, because I know I've got that time surplus, and yes, I know I can't be complacent about it, but at the moment it's not an issue. We got from Chedsoy Lane to the outskirts of Bridgewater, and now we're just about to cross the M5. You may hear it. Luckily there's a cycle path here. Gosh, look at all those poppies. Love this time of year. Going to go along there, turn right shortly, cut through a housing estate, get on the A38, then start heading northish. Within a few miles, hopefully we're going to get the benefit of the wind. I didn't film much along there because it was mostly cycle path and then pavement along a very busy road. Also, I took the opportunity to charge my camera. We've now got up to Paulet. So what's happening is this road is going to go round, curve around, run parallel to this, and then rejoin it just before we get to Burnham-on-Sea. So we're cutting a section of busy road off. It's actually quite nice round here. I wanted to film this, which is why I wanted to recharge the camera. I think this may be the River Huntsbill flowing into the Bristol Channel. There's the A38, look, see the cars going across that bridge. Actually the wind's blowing it that way. Little church behind there. I think we're going to curve around past that church and then join the A38 shortly, turn off it again left into Burnham-on-Sea. I've just come in the last mile or so to Burnham-on-Sea through this housing area. And this is called Old Station Way. It's the course of the old railway, and this is where the station used to be. There's one of its old buildings, literally just behind the seafront. That big pub on the right hand side on the corner, the yellowish one, that's now Wetherspoons. I think that used to be called the Somerset and Dorset. I'm not sure if it still is. And beyond, I'll stop there and show you, the railway actually continued to appear, and then it went down a ramp because they used to run ferries between Burnham-on-Sea and Cardiff from here, South Wales. So once upon a time the railway would have come past the station to here and gone down that ramp where there'd be ferries come across. Look at the Quantocks all over there. There's all the construction sites of Hinkley C, the new nuclear power station. Lovely sandy beaches up there. The very iconic wooden lighthouse. It's a nice view of Burnham-on-Sea. Big sandy beaches. It's that white building up there between the dunes and this halfway down the sand to the sea. It's a long way out. That's the lighthouse. That's the wooden lighthouse. We're going to be passing the Trinity lighthouse soon as we leave. It's on the main road, just a few hundred yards back from the coast. And then there's a short lighthouse, or there was. Here we are at Keeper's Cottage. I won't go any further, it's obviously private property. There's the second of the three lighthouses there. We've now turned off the main road onto some quieter lanes. This is really nice up here. You see the wind blowing in from the sea. We should be having that behind us now for most of the rest of the ride. As we head back up towards the Mendips, get a good view of it there, where it goes along, then dips down and goes back up. That's Crook Peak, kind of nipple on it. And the M5 cuts right through that gap. I've just passed through Loxton. A couple of weeks ago on my last DIY, I went up to Webbington there. And then you see that straight line, hedgerow, above the motorway where there's some houses, a road along there. This time I'm heading this way. And I'm roughly heading up to Congersbury, where I'll then change direction yet again for my final direction change up onto Lowellsgate, then back down through Chew Valley to Bath. We got 29 miles to go. It's just gone 5 p.m, so we've got 4 hours to do 29 miles. So barring accidents and illness, should be well within time. Probably going to stop for one more snack Just trying to think where there's a shop where I can stock up on some food, maybe find a seat and have a snack. I'll have to think about that. It's been a long time since I've ridden this route, so it's coming back in stages. I'm trying to think where there's going to be a good place in the next 5 or 6 miles. It's now about 5:45 and I'm just outside the Co-op at Congressbury. Just got myself an Oreo ice cream, small can of Coke. I've got a sports drink as well. And I'm charging my Garmin. I just got a low battery alarm. The smell of fish and chips coming out that chip shop is just amazing. Some nice seats inside as well. I see some older people in there and some young people as well. Looks like a really nice community fish and chip shop. So about a mile or so back, I had a low battery alarm on that. I just plugged it in and it said 21%. So I guess it gives you the alarm at 20% and it's already up to 26%. That'll get me home okay. Another 10 minutes here, I'll be on my way. I've got the big climb coming up that'll take me up along Rolls-Gate, and after that it's pretty much downhill most of the way home. This is Broccoli Coombe Road and we've got 20 miles to go. So it's about a mile and a half up here. It's quite a long climb, but it's nothing particularly steep. It's like this a lot of the way, wooded, till we get near the top and then it opens up a bit. I don't know what the gradient is, but it's nothing too steep. It just goes on a long time. Just going to cut round this S-bend and then it levels out and we'll run right alongside Bristol Airport. It's not easy to film up here, but there's a plane just taking off. I guess the hedges here is sound protection for these houses. I'm now on 9.4 miles to go. And I've said this so many times in the past. When it counts down after 10, it goes down in decimal fractions. So before it's 15, 14, 13, etc. Now it's going to go 9.9, 9.8, 9.7. And as long as I'm not chasing the clock, and I'm not tonight, I've got at least an hour and a half in hand. At this point in time, I can just really savour that and enjoy it. And I do. I just flood my brain with happy chemicals. I really, really do. And just at the top of the final short and sharp climb out of Compton Dandow, heading up towards Corston, and we'll go along the top, Duchy of Cornwall land. Just coming up to 8 PM, so I've got an hour to go. I'm pretty much on the outskirts of Bath, looking over at Kelston Round Hill. Over the hill there would be the A4, over that way is the A39. I'm heading to intersect with the A4 for about half a mile. I'll ride along a cycle track next to it and then take a spur down onto Bath Bristol bike track. Hope you've enjoyed coming along on my second Audax in 2 months. I'm about a mile or so from home here, just going to give my darling wife a call and then I'll shoot off home. It's been relatively easy today. Again, the weather was nowhere near as bad as I thought it may be. After that wet start, I had a little bit of headwind over near Bridgewater and Burnham. Apart from that, it's been fairly easy today, very enjoyable. My next video will be towards the end of June because, as I referred to earlier on, I'm going off on holiday in 9 days' time, visiting 9 thankful villages around the north of England, and then I've got plenty of time at the end, I hope, if all goes well, to just explore a bit of the coastline round by Lytham, St Anne's, Blackpool, Southport, Formby, before I head into Manchester and get a train home. If you got this far, thanks so much for watching. Look after each other, everybody. See you soon.